friends, is a late Boy Scout with another action-packed knife review. Today we're looking at the Schrade SCHF42, a knife that in my opinion is darn near perfect, even for the price. The price is something like 45 bucks. 45 bucks, 1095 steel, Grippy handles, leather sheath. You've got almost everything you could possibly need on this light, under 10 ounces knife. Nice, thick, robust blade, right, with something like a 5-inch, I think it's a 5-inch blade. I mean, it hits just about all the right notes for me. It's super carryable and super tough. If there's one minor complaint I would give it, it's that it does have this nice recurve to it. That's going to be difficult to resharpen in some ways. On the other hand, it cuts like a mofo. It really works. Out of box, fresh out of the box, this knife was everything I wanted it to be. Very nice and sharp. The edge angle on it was exactly what I wanted it to be. Didn't need to do any sort of reprofiling, any sort of fixing as I had to do with the SCHF9, its bigger brother and very similar looking knife right there. I did feel like I needed to give that a bit of a reprofiling in order to get a fine enough edge to do the type of work I wanted to be able to do with it. And that's on the SCHF9. Griffin design on both of them, as you can tell. And you can definitely see lots of similarities there. This one, as I said before though, needed no modification out of the box. It was essentially, to me, a perfect knife. I said it's basically a perfect knife out of the box. I would say though, having used it, that there's one thing I would fix before going out and using this knife. Look at this. See that handle right there, that Grippy handle sliding back and forth? I need to back those screws out, Loctite them down. I would say that you ought to do that too if you decide to buy this knife. Otherwise, it is set. It is ready to go. It's everything you need. You might want a Kydex sheath, depending on the type of work you plan on doing, the places you plan on going. I would say for almost all purposes, almost all uses, bushcrafting, hiking, putting into an emergency kit, whatever, almost all uses, a leather sheath is going to be just fine. It's got a little button clasp right here. Keeps the knife retained. Comes with a generous belt loop right here, very big and wide open too. Again, because it's so generous, it doesn't matter whether you feed it on through the buckle side or the leading side. And there it is, ready to go. Tip has proven itself to be pretty strong. You can tell the stock is quite thick there at the tip. I knew that was going to be a pretty strong tip. It's held up nicely. I believe it's a Chinese-made knife. If I'm wrong about that, I'll correct it in an annotation. But you get so much for the money. Again, around 45 bucks. 1095 steel is fantastic. It's perfectly done. The Grippy handles can be kind of slick, but you can fix that easily with a little bit of skateboard tape or some other sort of traction tape, kind of like I did here on my Becker BK7. Another thing I definitely want to point out is how the SCHF42 is such a huge improvement over the SCHF9, you know, as a design from Griffin. The big complaint that I had about the SCHF9 was this right here. You see how fat that handle is? In some ways, it's almost fatiguing to continually hold because it's so big around. They definitely solved that problem on this little guy. There's no girth issues there. That is going to be a very comfortable handle to hold on to. And it was in the testing that I did. You've also got some little divots right here. You can press in, hold it in this direction to kind of do some of your sideways cuts, your power cuts. It's great in any position, really, that I tried out. The jimping there on the top is coarse, aggressive, Works well whether you're barehanded or whether you have gloves on. You can see that there's a generous lanyard hole on this knife, plenty of room for paracord, and also right here you've got a nice pommel striking surface for driving stakes into the ground or breaking up rocks and doing any number of other things that you might need some kind of a little pommel for. I'm pretty impressed with the coating on this knife as well. We can see a little bit of wear right there at the very edge if we really look for it. But the amount of work this knife has done, that's to be expected. Otherwise, it has held up really well. The edges of the spine on the SCHF42, at least on this side, feel sharp enough to throw sparks. I'm pretty positive I could throw some good sparks with that. The knife does not come with the sharpener and ferro rod that you get on the other Frontier series knives. This one right here, I think that's the SCHF36. You can see how that compares. The 36, I believe, is 12 plus ounces, and this one is just under 10. And again, for the money, this one definitely wins at something like, what did I say, 27, 28 bucks on this knife? It's amazing. This one, of course, 45 or so, but far more refined as a design. But it's important to note that it doesn't come with the sharpener or the ferro rod that this one comes with. So there's no real extras thrown in, okay, to sort of sweeten the deal. What they've done instead is focused on design and given you a really useful, really good looking, really functional knife. And they've just done a fantastic job of that.
There are very few drawbacks I can talk about with the SCHF42. That S-curve, that recurve on the blade may be difficult to sharpen, but it cuts like a monster. The jimping up on top of the blade is extremely aggressive. You can feel that through gloves very easily. It's comfortable in hand for all kinds of cutting tasks and all kinds of cutting directions. It works really, really nicely in hand. The leather sheath is not my favorite, but it's very functional, and as long as you don't take a dip in a river, it's going to hold up great for you. The handle scales are not very grippy, but that's really easily remedied with a little bit of sports tape. Also, those scales did begin to come a little bit loose, but once again, you can fix that really easily with just a little bit of Loctite. The knife is small, it's light, it's tough, it's versatile, and it's very affordable as well, so I highly recommend it. I'm the Late Boy Scout. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see y'all later.